Welcome. My name is George Pearson and I run the How To Gurus channel here on YouTube. Most of the videos in my channel are short demonstrations of the different tools and techniques you'll find in various software programs. Right now I have several hundred of these quick videos available on YouTube. This video though is different. This is part of a new series of longer demonstrations that I'm doing to show you how to complete complex projects from start to finish using a variety of techniques and tools. All of the images I use in these projects are in the public domain, and I've included a link to the pictures in the video description in case you want to work along using the same images. Okay, let's move on to the project. In this Photoshop Elements text project, we're going to be looking at doing neon lighting, as you can see here. Now this is all the lighting, all this neon is done inside of Elements, and then we just have some different layers for background stuff. There's a layer with the wall, which is right there, and in front of that you kind of have just a little bit of something in there just to kind of brighten things up a bit in behind that, and then there's a gradient just helping out the light effect, and of course the neon lighting itself. We're looking at a couple of different things in this video. First, this kind of lighting on a flat brick wall, and then we'll also look at taking that same sign and putting that onto glass right here. This involves just rotating it a little bit in perspective, as you can see there, and then surrounding it with a new shape, and then just doing a reflection in behind. Fairly straightforward adjustment or modification on that. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about doing this neon type. Now I've already copied that page. Let me just bring that up again so you can see that. What I normally do when I want to make a new file that matches an old file is I'll do a select all, there we go, edit copy, and that puts the size of the image on the clipboard. There we go. Then when I make a new file, file blank file, and if I select clipboard at the very top there, it automatically gives me the same size, so it matches the size that I started off with. Okay, that's what we did. Let's just zoom in here. That's pretty good. I'll put in black on this background just as a starting point. Let's make sure that go to our paint bucket and make sure that our background color here, color swatches, is set for black. Let's just go to our default lighting. There we go, our default colors. Set that black and fill that. That's just for this first part of the demonstration so you can see what we're talking about. Alright, now we need to have some type obviously in here. And the one that I'm using is this thing called Sago Script Regular. Just scroll down a little bit. There we go. Sago Script Regular. You can see it's a fairly thin typeface. It's in a script which works out well for a neon look, and the letters are all about the same thickness. There's a slight variation, but not much. It's about the same thickness clear through. That's the kind of thing that you're looking for to give it that neon look. Okay, now we want to have a light pink color in here, so we'll be using that in a little bit. But let's change here, and let's see what we have. I think the Windows should do. What I want is a light variation, a light version of that same color. Right there, that's pretty close. It's not exactly what I want. Let's see if we can find what's any better in here. There we go, that's even better, a little lighter. So we're just looking just for a light pink, like that. This is going to be the inner part of the letter, so I'll choose. Okay, let's come in here and make sure we're on our text, cancel that out, and come into the middle someplace. There we go. I'll just type in open late, we'll be working with that, and let's bring the size of this up. Okay, so this is going to be the inside color. Now the way that neon works is in the middle you'll have a lightness, and then around the outside of that you'll have the same color but darker. That gives you that kind of a round effect, and then you'll have a glow in behind. We can do all of that using our layer styles. I'll just zoom in a bit here so we can see this. And up to our layer, and layer style settings. We want two things. I want to put a stroke in here first. I want the stroke inside, and we need to change the color of this stroke to that standard magenta right there. So you can see there's the inside, then that stroke. I'm going to bring the size of the stroke down a little bit right there. So you want just a little bit of that dark color around your inside of your type. Now, how far you go, this is going to change the look slightly. You can go in here someplace, might be a little bit nicer. So you want to have that lightness in the middle and then the darker part around the outside of that edge. So that's done with the stroke. And the darker part, of course, is just your color over here. The next part we want to have is that glow on the outside. So let's go up here to glow, outside. So there's your glow. You can see the glow happening. We want the glow to be the same color as the lighting. So let's click over here on this and bring up our color selector again. Scroll back up into that magenta and choose the exact same color that we used for the stroke. And then we can just adjust that size a bit. You don't want too much, but you want enough. Something in there is pretty good. Choose OK, and that gives us that neon lit effect. Now if I zoom this out, you can see how nice that looks once we get that down to the proper size. So that's the basic neon look. Now, once you're out here, you can then come back in and tweak those colors, and we'll do that once we get our background on there. We'll then tweak that glow a little bit so it looks good. Now I have a background picture. There we go, just some brick. I'm just going to grab this and drop it on there. Obviously that's far too large for our picture, so let's just find the side. We'll scale this down a bit. There we go. And I'll just drag that corner down until we resize this properly to fit. So I'm just dragging down the corner to shrink it and then pulling it up, and then dragging down again, pulling that up again. There we go. And then find the sides, and I'll pull that out so it snaps to the edge of our image. Choose OK. Let's put that in behind our text. So there's the open light in front of this brick wall. Now we want to bring the brick wall down so that it looks good against the surface. And we can do that several different ways. You can come in here, you can change your blending modes on this. I'm just going to roll down with my wheel mouse here, the wheel on the mouse. And notice we have some of these different effects, give us more of kind of an interesting exterior restaurant look on this. I think that pin light looks pretty good. Looks a little glossier. Looks like it's maybe outside of a restaurant or something. So I think I'll stick with that pin light. Now I want to have it darker down below, and we'll put our sign up a little bit. So we want to darken this down, and that will be done with a gradient in front of our brick wall and below the type. So let's do a new layer right here. We can get rid of that. That's all taken care of. Go to the gradient tool. The gradient by default goes foreground to background. The one you want though is actually a black to clear. So let's change our foreground color, bring our color swatches up. Let's just set this back to our defaults. There we go. And choose black. We'll then have that black to clear right there. So it's foreground to clear. Looking pretty good. And then I'll just drag that up. We'll see how that looks. Pretty good. First shot off the bat looks pretty nice. I think that's nice. So it looks as if this is lighting up the wall for us. Now we want to adjust that glow, make the glow a bit brighter. It's kind of hard to see now. We have all this done. So let's double click where it says FX. That brings the settings back up again. We can hide the stroke. That's taken care of. So we're working down here on the glow. You want to bring that glow up a bit. You can see it right there. As I go back and forth, you can kind of see that effect. So bring that glow up a bit. There we go. So that gives us that glowing effect in behind the lettering. So there it is. That's the basic look on a dark surface like this. Let's now take a look at doing this neon lighting effect on a glass window. So we'll do that in the same file here. And I'll start with making a copy of the text. Just drag it up right there. Notice if I have two of those, you get a doubling up of the effect. And if you like that little more fancy glow, you can go ahead and do that as well. But for now, let's just hide all of this stuff and leave just this new type. I want to bring this down, change the orientation on this by putting the late underneath the open. There we go. We're going to adjust our leading a little bit here. Let me just... Now what I'm doing is I'm going over where the word is, click and drag at that point, and you can then increase the leading, and that increases the spacing between the letters. That's why I bring them a little closer together, just like that. Okay, so that's going to be our basic sign. We now want to, let me just float that again. We want to have an ellipse around, or a rectangle rather, around this with a rounded corners, a rounded corner ellipse. So we'll do that with our shape tools right there and the rounded rectangle tool. There it is. Now on this one I want to have nothing on our bevel effects. But we can have some fun with this actually. We can come in here and play around. Let's do this as a white, and then we'll play around with the white setting. And if I pull this over here to the right hand side, you can see all the different options we have in here for this. Square, fixed size, proportional, unconstrained. A useful option here is from center, right there. That'll make it a little easier for us to do this because about the center of our sign is right about here. So if I grab that, I can then pull out from that point. It makes it a little easier for us to actually position that around that point. Now there are lots of ways of doing this shape. We could come in here and put a stroke around this, do an outline around it, and then make the center clear. Or we could come in and use some of our effects. We have all kinds of effects in here, including these wow neon effects. Now I hit the wrong layer there. Let's just undo that, apply. I want to make sure that I'm on that shape and not on the lettering itself. So let's look at our layers. Should have worked. So I'm going to just lock the lettering. There it is, just to make sure that we don't accidentally do anything on that lettering. Okay, effects. Let's just see what we have. I'll double click on it this time. And using these effects, you get this really nice kind of look. It's different than what I did in my sample. On the sample, I just made an outline kind of like the type and did the same thing I did with the type and gave myself a white outline. This time I'm doing a little differently because we have these effects over here that are very, very interesting. You can do a lot of stuff with these things. Now, some of these have, let me just undo that, get back onto our proper layer. There we go. Some of these have drop shadows and things, which adds a little bit of an effect to, you can see the drop shadow happening up in there. It adds a bit to that quality. So you can use these to come in here and just give you, a whole different look on these different effects. Now let's go back to our layers. Here's our shape. I'm going to put a new shape in behind this shape. I just want to show you something about this effect that we just did here. I'll just grab the shape tool again, and I'll put a new shape in behind. And you can see right there that when we put that effect on that shape, it actually removed the inside of that shape for us. So we're just having that outline applied to that shape, and we have that transparent intersection. And that's what you want to have happening. Okay, let's just get rid of that little demo piece. So that's the basics for this. Now we want to combine this into something which we can put onto the window. It takes a couple more steps. I'll make a copy of each of these. Let's just copy that, and I'll copy that shape and put those up here. I'll then hide the originals, so we can always go back to those if we need to. We now want to combine these together, and to do that we want to simplify these layers. Where it says, just come over here and unlock that, where the type is, where the text name is, click on that, right click and simplify layer. Same thing down here, right click, simplify layer. So they're now simplified. Hold the control key down and click on both of those layers to select both of these, right click and merge layers. That puts them together now onto one layer, so we now have those as one layer. At this point we can bring our background in. Let me just bring that up. There it is. I'll just drag that over here, put that in the background. I'll need to resize again. It's far too large, obviously, so I'll just find the upper right hand corner here, and I'll do that same trick and just kind of resize this image. Now as you saw, it's a vertical image, but what I want is just the window part of that image. I don't need all the rest. So I'll just bring this down until we get that window showing. There we go. There's that window. Now bring it up right about like that. That'll work out well for this. Choose OK. And then I can get rid of this image. So there's our window. Let's pull it in behind our new layers. There's our text layer. Now we need to put this into the proper perspective to match the window. And we can do that, of course, up here. Image transform. Several ways of doing this. We can do a skew, we can do a perspective on this. I kind of like distort. Let's make sure I'm on the right layer. Cancel that, I was on the wrong layer there. Okay, up here. And then image transform distort. Now distort allows me to grab the corners and put the corners anywhere I want them. So I can very easily resize this thing down and get just the position that I want. So I want to have the left side vertical, like that. I want the top kind of matching the line of that, and that's pretty good at this point. I want to bring the bottom up just a bit and keep that right side vertical as well. Just kind of eyeballing in the perspective. Now for this to work out well, you want to see some stuff behind it, so that we can kind of see through and see some stuff in behind. Now to really sell this, you want to have a slight reflection behind that. We can do that by making a copy of this layer. There we go. Pull a copy in behind, and then I'll use the cursor keys here, and I'll just move that back a little bit. Now technically that's going to be pretty accurate. They'll be almost the same brightness, but we're not doing technical here, we're doing art. So let's bring the transparency down, the opacity down on this background layer just to fade that out. So what we mostly see is the foreground layer and not that background layer. You want to see the hint of that reflection, but you want to focus on that foreground layer. And there we go. That's taking our neon lighting, making it into a sign shape and applying it onto a glass window. And that's how you do neon inside of Photoshop Elements. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this training video.